Anywho, we have another video to move right along into. This one's called DEI Disaster. It was posted 10 days ago. First black female sheriff in this area, obviously, indicted on 30 felonies over incompetence. This one was actually suggested to me not only by members of my chat, but Papa Elfpire as well watched it the other day. He started getting into Nate the Lawyer.
Susan Hudson is not only the first female sheriff of Orleans Parish, she's also the state's first black woman to occupy the sheriff's office in the state, period.
We're going to talk about history. When you do break a glass ceiling, you got to celebrate it.
A new sheriff in town, Susan Hudson, breaking barriers indeed, as the first African-American female sheriff in the state's history.
A few moments later.
Breaking news. Orleans Sheriff Susan Hudson is indicted on 30 felony counts.
So this is Susan Hudson, and she's about to make history being the first black female sheriff in Louisiana's history.
We're going to talk about history. When you do break a glass ceiling, you got to celebrate it.
A new sheriff in town, Susan Hudson, breaking barriers indeed, as the first African-American female sheriff in the state's history.
I was looking at how long Louisiana's been a state, right? 200 plus years, and all that time, not one African-American woman has been able to get to this position. 2022, right? And so you're like, it's time for all those barriers to be broken down.
First a parade, then the inauguration ceremony.
Now, Susan Hudson is a political activist. She's extremely progressive.
Remember, everybody, David was 17 turning 18 when all of this went down. I think we can all agree that the one thing we're not going to say about an 18-year-old is that they're smart or they think things through.
And left wing. And before becoming sheriff, she actually served as the independent police monitor for New Orleans.
Let me give you a little bit of a background of Susan Hudson. She's running on a progressive platform, and she scored a major endorsement from Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams, who also ran on that similar progressive platform during his race last year. Now, Hudson has no political experience, but says it's time for a change, and she's focusing on what she calls the 3C ideology: care, custody, and control.
Before voters named her sheriff, she spent 11 years as New Orleans independent police monitor.
So you have this extremely progressive sheriff whose plan essentially is, we don't really want to punish people. We don't want to put people in jail for their crimes. We want to pretend like crime doesn't exist. And this is horrible for the people of New Orleans, because New Orleans has a huge crime problem. Remember when the district attorney of New Orleans was actually caught?
My mother's really shook up. She keeps reliving it. But we're just thankful that that we're alive. Nobody's hurt.
This is surveillance video from moments after the teens allegedly stole Williams' car. Amaja Curtis, Dejon Curtis, Santan Gilmore, and Ahmad Seals have all been charged as adults in this case.
So the people of New Orleans said, hey, let's hire the most progressive, anti-police person we could as sheriff, and that's what they did. So what do you think happened? Well, obviously.
No, obviously she defunded the police, and then after things started getting bad, she tried to fund the police again. That's my guess.
Things went off the rails immediately. See, since she is sheriff, she handles the jails. And immediately, inmates went crazy and conditions at the jail worsened under her tenure.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but weeks into Hudson's tenure, inmates in a high-security pod at the Orleans Justice Center barricaded themselves in that pod, blocking out staff. That standoff lasted 3 days, with inmates demanding better conditions. A report by federal jail monitors claimed that conditions in the jail had worsened in some cases under Hudson's oversight.
So under the progressive sheriff, things actually got worse for the inmates, not better. And then the controversies just started racking up. For instance, her incompetence caused the court to hold her in contempt because she wasn't securing transportation from inmates from the jail to the court.
A New Orleans judge is accusing the sheriff of contempt of court, and she's now being ordered to appear before that judge tomorrow afternoon. Criminal District Chief Judge Tracy Flemings-Davalier says that Sheriff Susan Hudson is ignoring a court order to transport recent arrestees from jail to magistrate court on weekends and holidays. Now, during the pandemic, that process was paused, going to Zoom and then doing transports during the week. However, on June 18th, the judge issued an order.
Okay, so this must be a jurisdiction that does do court, that, because there are some jurisdictions that will do weekend and holiday court appearances. It's often less congested during those days and stuff, but they still operate on those days. What must have happened is they moved those court dates to Zoom court, and they were trying to, after the COVID epidemic, move it back to in-person court. And she wasn't able to facilitate any of this because as an elected sheriff, usually in a more rural area like this, you're going to end up having the sheriff is in charge of the jails, and they're in charge of the focus of, the sheriff department.
For Hudson to resume those weekend and holiday trans.
Would acquittal by jury nullification be a rumpled defense? No. No, that would be... You as a lawyer or as a prosecutor, it doesn't really matter. You're not trying to get the jury to invoke jury nullification. Are you the judge to nullify the jury? Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, you're not trying to confuse your jury so fucking much that the judge has to step in and nullify their decision because you fucked with their brain so much. No, that's not a rumpled defense.
Sports beginning this past Saturday.
Now, this became so bad, they were going to sentence her to like 6 months in prison with a $500 fine. But the appeals court last second stepped in and said, let's slow it down because she is...
No, it doesn't matter if she's... Oh my fucking God. I hate so much that people in any kind of position of authority where they should be held accountable more than the average person, the courts go, oh no, they're sheriffs, so they can't be punished right now. Fucking bullshit. They're not doing their job. They're ignoring court orders. I'm holding them in contempt. God damn it.
Sheriff. Last Friday, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals temporarily suspended Sheriff Susan Hudson's contempt of court ruling at the last minute, and WWL exclusively.
Yeah, but I think they're referring to a judge that says not guilty. We don't care for the evidence. The law sucks. Yeah, you're not going for Saper. Even in that case, no one's going for jury nullification. No one. If a jury member during voir dire fucking even mentions that they know about jury nullification, you fucking get rid of him and then you bring in an entire new rotation because they just fucking poisoned the fucking jury pool. Yeah, no, even in that instance, you're not going for jury nullification.
Received the documents supporting that stay by the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, you suck balls.
Sheriff Susan Hudson was set to face up to 6 months imprisonment or a fine of up to $500. That's because the chief judge of Orleans Parish Criminal Court held the sheriff contempt of court for failing to provide a staff of deputies for magistrate court for weekend sessions.
Now, if being found in contempt of court is not enough, the money started becoming a little funny. Now, context is key. During Mardi Gras, the city is packed. Local law enforcement needs backup. The sheriff backfills her staff by bringing in officers from other parishes, since these officers are...
Yeah, but during that time, for Mardi Gras, what usually happens is the people who come out from outside precincts and they come in, that sheriff's department will pay for hotel rooms for the outside officers to use while they're there supporting. Oh yeah, you never expressly argue it, but you can argue the lack of intent. Okay, Saper, yeah, you cheeky little... Yeah, that's true, you can do that. But is she the country's worst sheriff? I don't know about that. Well, there have been some really bad sheriffs countrywide. But this might be the worst sheriff in Louisiana, we don't know.
Coming from out of town, the protocol is to reserve hotel rooms for them so they can have a place to stay while they work those grueling shifts. Now, as per protocol, the sheriff reserved a total of 90 rooms across multiple hotels. And obviously these rooms couldn't be used by the sheriff's own staff because they lived in the city and they could just go home. So why would the sheriff's department need to pay for hotel rooms for the local staff? They live there.
Information from the New Orleans office.
You don't know. No, that's not, I'm sorry, no. If your deputies are reside in your local area. They stay at their home. They do not get a hotel room from Mardi Gras. What the fuck?
Office of Inspector General about Sheriff Hudson's hotel reservations during Mardi Gras. The rooms were supposed to be used by law enforcement who had to drive into town to help the NOPD during parades. But in a new report, the Inspector General finds that the sheriff reserved 13 rooms at the Omni Royal Orleans for her command staff, not for any out-of-town.
13 rooms for local. Oh, Jesus.
Her staff members stayed there for a total of 37 nights, but the sheriff had reserved and paid for 90 nights.
No, what the fuck? You spent...
But the sheriff had reserved and paid for 90 nights. The total cost...
You spent 90 nights? 3 months? What the fucking...
Cost of about $18,000, and according to the OIG, most of that came from the 53 nights when the rooms remained empty.
So the sheriff had a lot to answer for. Why is your staff staying in high-end hotels when they live in the same city? Here's what the sheriff had to say.
I don't see a controversy here, no. I see this as being money well spent to make sure that $1 million was also well spent.
That was Orleans Parish Sheriff.
What did you just say?
To make sure that $1 million controversy here, no. I see this as being money well spent to make sure that $1 million was also well spent.
Oh my God. You had $1 million budget and you fucking... You frivolously wasted money to ensure that you would keep that $1 million budget. That way you didn't have to deal with a deficit for next year. Because what you don't use, and that's a surplus, and they don't give you the same amount of what you say. Oh, you fucking dumb bitch. That's not money. Yeah, that logic is not logic. No, that's fucking, oh my God.
Parish Sheriff Susan Hudson.
Fucking excuse me? That's one of my new favorite ones. Fucking excuse me.
Defending her decision to house 13 top deputies at local hotels.
13 of your bodies? Kristen Morales, Laura Veazey, Corey Amaker, Dana Busby, Earl Fox, Anthony Fricano, Ernest Newman, Tanya Picard, John Scott, Silas Phipps, Kevin Talley. Oh wow, look at this one, guys. Brian Kisha, Crusto, and Lance Wade.
Some for 11 days and nights while they helped with Carnival Parade security. But within hours of that interview, here was Hudson again.
An honorary deputy of the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office. Love my sheriff.
That was Hudson thanking the owners of LA Canine, a police dog training company in Vermilion Parish. The company agreed to donate more than $19,000.
God damn it. Fucking conflict of interest bull. Oh, Jesus God.
To pay for those hotel rooms at the Omni Royal Orleans, Sheraton, and Marriott. However, in this Facebook post by one of the owners, Lance Broussard, he characterized the donation as helping the sheriff with, quote, a little problem.
So crisis averted.
Crisis is not averted. Crisis. Hold on, crisis is far from averted. Hold on, we're going back frame by frame. I love his transitions, by the way. And help her out with a little problem. You donated her the money that she needed to no longer be in trouble because she spent money frivolously and in a manner that was wasteful. You covered up her wasteful spending with a donation. This does not help anyone.
Problem.
So crisis averted. The city got all its money back and the sheriff was off the hook. Now, we got a problem. We got this woman who's been elected sheriff. She's supposed to be in charge of running a jail, but has no experience running jails. So things kind of got out of control.
Legislative audit just released today scrutinized 3 years of operations at the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Department. It found over 1,000 instances of potential payroll fraud, leading to chronic staff shortages.
Over 1,000 instances of potential payroll fraud. So you're not paying You're not paying your jailers. Which is why the jail is going to shit. Oh, come on.
And missing cell block security patrols. The auditor found deputies performed less than 30% of required cell checks.
Less than 30%. If you guys are going to deal with a fucking security breach, you're going to deal with escapees. If you have that, oh my god, the fucking deputies that are even showing up aren't even doing their patrols. This is how you get, like, prison breaks and shit like that.
And some cell blocks just performing 4% of those timed security patrols.
Oh my God.
Staffing is a source of the
4%
problem,
is
according to the
horrible.
report, with some deputies allowed to double book shifts, staffing off-duty details at the same time they're scheduled to secure the jail. The auditor counting over 1,300 instances of what the report describes as this potential payroll fraud involving 107.
Where the fuck are the beds? Where the I'm sorry. Where? Please tell me this is it. Well, clearly it is, right? There's no belongings or anything. But aren't these things supposed to have pads on them? And you seriously are only giving them a single rung on their ladder? This is crazy.
79 deputies over 3 years.
So as you see, the sheriff wasn't really doing a great job. And then you had the fact that there was a massive jailbreak.
Massive manhunt.
There was a I swear to God, I did not free-watch this. I swear to God, 10 fucking inmates. Oh my God. Oh no. Oh no. How did they get out? How did they get out? Is the question. Because, like, even if cops aren't doing their rounds, like, these are, like, there's magnetic locks and shit. Like, seriously. That, like, I don't know how they could just get out of a jail.
For a stunning jailbreak in New Orleans, 10 inmates escaping, some charged with murder, all considered armed and dangerous, and authorities tonight investigating whether this was an inside job. Here's ABC's Maria Villarreal.
Inside job?
Tonight, these stunning images from inside a New Orleans jail cell where 10 inmates, some charged with murder,
Oh my God.
escaped.
Holy shit! Look at this. No, it looked like they forced the door open. It does look, maybe the cops or maybe a maintenance worker. Let's see, that's one. Oh, hold on. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nine.
Citywide manhunt.
And 10.
The toilet dislodged.
Oh my God. They got through that? Like, aren't these big people? Bro. They fucking ripped. Look at this. They ripped. Wow. Oh, out of the wall. Jesus.
From a cell wall, exposing an.
That looks like desperation. That looks like, guys, if we don't escape, we're gonna die in here. That looks like, seriously. Holy shit. That's really bad.
Opening scrawled on the wall above, "We innocent and too easy," with an arrow toward the hole where
too easy, LOL. Oh my God, I
they
love
escaped out of view of the officer on duty.
Yeah, the inmate was right. This was too easy. So here's what authorities said happened.
Authorities say it happened just after midnight when the inmates broke a lock on a cell door.
They were still able to exit the jail about 1:01 a.m. after breaching a wall behind a toilet in the jail. And based on video surveillance, they were seen exiting a door on the docks where we normally bring in supplies, scaling a wall and running across the interstate.
Officials believe the escapees had help.
These detainees received assistance in their escape from individuals inside of our department.
They say the toilet could not be removed with bare hands, suggesting someone inside the jail system may have helped the inmates unscrew it with a power tool.
And yes, there was an inside man. Police arrested him.
The hunt continues for the inmates still.
Okay, so who was the insider? Was it a guard or a janitor or who was it?
At large after breaking out of the local jail in New Orleans. But cops say they've found the inside man they believed helped them. A maintenance worker at the jail has been arrested, accused.
Shut off the water. Yeah, because here's the thing. If they were able to get the toilet off, wouldn't there be water everywhere? It would have alerted the guard. So the maintenance worker probably provided tools to them and shut off the water so they could even do that.
Of cutting off the water.
The jail worker has been identified as 33-year-old Sterling Williams. He reportedly claims he was coerced into turning off the water by an inmate who threatened to shank him if he didn't play ball.
Now, just to put everyone's mind at ease, all 10 of those convicts were returned back to prison.
In another development months in the making, the last of 10 inmates who escaped from a Louisiana jail in May was captured today in Atlanta.
Officials say a Crime Stoppers tip this summer led them there, and they found the fugitive hiding in a crawl space.
10 men who escaped from a Louisiana jail in May by crawling through a hole cut in the
months. Wow, he was on the run for months.
Wall behind a toilet. Wow. Above the hole, someone had written messages to the jailers, including this misspelled one, "Too easy, LOL." Groves was the last of the 10 escapees to be found and also the most violent. He was convicted of murdering 2 men on Mardi Gras in 2018. The New Orleans
And he stayed in Louisiana? Dude, I would have left the state if I had it. Are you fucking kidding me? Jesus Christ.
Prosecutor says he is facing multiple life sentences.
So obviously it seems like
Oh wait, no, he went to Atlanta, Georgia.
we had a bigger problem at play here. So state investigators looked at the whole department to see how things were being run. And after the investigation, they decided it was time to indict the sheriff.
We start with some major breaking news. Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hudson indicted in connection with an investigation into last year's jailbreak in New Orleans.
So this indictment comes in connection with a state investigation by Attorney General Liz Murrell's office into last year's mass escape by 10 inmates. The bombshell news came down within just the last hour.
Arrest warrants released Thursday outline some of the state's evidence, alleging Hudson ignored years of federal monitors' repeated warnings that, quote, enabled 10 dangerous inmates to escape and remain undetected for hours. The warrant describes the jail as understaffed and inmates unsupervised, often relying on one staff member to monitor multiple pods from a control room rather than inside the pod. The warrant also alleges security logs were falsified, and the prison's high security unit.
So they're falsifying security logs as well. Oh yeah, we definitely patrolled during these times. No, you didn't.
Dissolved. During hours of unsupervised time, a federal monitor found inmates were, quote, assaulting other inmates, assaulting staff, destroying property, starting fires, smoking, possessing dangerous contraband, and or threatening self-harm.
So
in addition to 14 malfeasance charges and 3 charges of filing or maintaining false public records, Hudson is also accused of obstructing justice and conspiring with CFO Bianca Brown to defy a court order. Brown was indicted on 20 similar counts. The arrest warrants are just a peek at the evidence to come.
So now the sheriff's been arrested, got bond, and made a statement saying, hey, this is not what it seems.
Susan Hudson says she expects complete vindication as she faces 30 felony counts.
In a statement released late Thursday, Sheriff Susan Hudson said she will, quote, aggressively fight to clear my name. And she is, quote, confident the facts will vindicate both me personally and the work I have done. Fox 8 legal analyst Joe Responti expects unsurprising strategies from defense attorneys and state prosecutors.
The defense is going to say that, hey, we tried as hard as we could, we just weren't good enough, and you can't convict somebody for being not good at what their job is.
Now this left me to thinking, who the hell is running the city of New Orleans? The mayor's indicted.
It has been a historic day in New Orleans for the
So the mayor and the sheriff are both indicted. How the fuck is New Orleans still alive?
The first time a sitting mayor of New Orleans is facing federal charges. Today, a federal grand jury handed up an indictment against Mayor LaToya Cantrell and her former bodyguard, Jeffrey Vappy. She faces 11 counts, including wire fraud, obstruction, and lying to a grand jury. This all centers around their alleged romantic relationship and how much it cost the city of New Orleans.
Okay, so it seems like the sheriff is going to say, hey, just because I'm bad at my job doesn't mean it's criminal. Yes, I had no experience ever in law enforcement, and I got the top law enforcement job because I am extremely progressive. That doesn't mean this is criminal. I'm just bad at being a sheriff. And it's going to be the prosecutors that are going to have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it was more than that. That she falsified documents, as you heard. That she intentionally let the jail deteriorate to a point where these things could happen. And then on top of that, lied about it. So who do you think has the better case, the prosecution or the defense? Do you think the sheriff is going to jail? If you're here at this point in the video, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer. I'm out.
Crazy. Criminally incompetent. Yeah, no. I think there's some positions where you don't get to be like, yes, actually being incompetent at this job could be criminal. You know, being incompetent as a doctor can very well end up being, you know, a criminal problem, if not a civil problem.